Good morning, everyone. So today I'm going to start with the new chapter, Chapter 1, Part 3, Accountancy, Analysis of Financial Statement. In this chapter again, 3 to 4 marker question come in exams. And in this chapter, we will be discussing about the financial statements of a company. Till 11th class, you have also studied about the financial statements, but they were the financial statements of a sole proprietor. And we have studied their three financial statements: trading and P&L account, profit and loss account, and the balance sheet. And here also we'll be knowing about the financial statements of a company. In a company, there are four financial statements. This can be the one marker question. Balance sheet, as you know that it is a statement of all the assets and liabilities. Then profit and loss account, it shows the net profits or the net results of the business during an accounting period. And in company gross profit, to find out gross profit, no trading account is prepared, only one account is prepared, that I have already told you. That account is known as statement of profit and loss account, and this format of this account is given in part 2 of schedule 3 of the Companies Act 2013, and it is also known as income statement. So this can be the one marker question. So note down all this important information in your notebooks. That format of the profit and loss account is given in part 2 of schedule 3 of the Companies Act 2013, and this account is also known as income statement. Then notes to account. Notes to account, because in balance sheet and P&L account we are just giving one figure, like we are writing cash balance in balance sheet, suppose it is 2 lakh, but we don't know how this cash balance has come, what are the parts of this cash and cash equivalent. So in balance sheet in companies, it is a practice that for each and every item given in balance sheet or statement of P&L account, one note will be prepared, and the details description about that particular item will be given in that note. So that will be known as notes to account. Next, cash flow statement. So this will be also the part of the financial statements of a company. It is a statement which will be showing us about the inflows and cash and outflows of cash. It means from where the cash is coming inside the business and to where the cash is outgoing. So all these combinedly make financial statements of a company. So if the question asks you about the financial statements of a company, then the answer will be number 1, balance sheet, number 2, profit and loss account, which is also known as statement of P&L account, third is notes to account, and fourth is cash flow statement. So please write main headings of all these four parts. Now straightforward, I'm coming to the format of the balance sheet. So in format of balance sheet, where this format is given, like statement of P&L account format is given in part 2 of schedule 3. So similarly, the format of balance sheet is given in part 1 of the schedule 3 of the Companies Act 2013. In part 1, balance sheet schedule is given, and in part 2, statement of P&L account schedule is given, format is given. So here you have to keep in mind one thing, that these formats are given by Act. So you are not allowed to do any change in these formats. You are not allowed to do any change in these formats. In these formats, as these are given by law. So in the same sequence, same order, you have to prepare these formats. It means any item cannot be changed with the other item. So the balance sheet format, we have first of all at the top of the balance sheet, we have to write name of the company. Suppose Reliance Limited is preparing its balance sheet, so it will be written Reliance Petrochemicals Limited, Reliance Communication Limited, the name of the company. Then the balance sheet as at. After writing as at, we have to writing the ending of the financial year. Suppose we are preparing balance sheet for 2019-20. So balance sheet for 1920 will be prepared for prepared on 31st March 2020. So we have to write balance sheet as at 31st March 2020. Now The first column, nothing is new in the format of the balance sheet, but here we will be doing balance sheet in detail. In chapter 3 too, we have already done this format of balance sheet, but there I told you some heads which were used there. But here we'll be doing the complete balance sheet. And remember that this is the complete format of the balance sheet, but some of the heads will not be asked in the question in board. Means those heads are deleted from your course. So while studying the balance sheet, we will be learning their names, but from practically the questions on those topics or on those heads or subheads will not be there in the exams. So simultaneously, I'll be telling on that which heads are will not be evaluated in the exams. So you have to put a cross on them, and you need not to go in the details of those heads because they are beyond the limits of your subject or your course. You will be studying those heads in higher classes. Okay, so then again you have to prepare the 4 columns in the balance sheet earlier, which we were making in chapter 3 in the comparative or common size. So particulars, here we'll be writing all the assets and liabilities. Then note number for each and every subhead like share capital, reserve and surplus, there will be a note. So here we have to write the note number. Like share capital we have prepared and we have given that note number 1. So in front of share capital we will be writing note number 1. Then in reserve and surplus, the total amount. Suppose general reserve are of rupees 80,000, revenue reserve is of rupees 50,000, statement profit and loss balance is rupees 1 lakh. So by adding all these threes, we will be writing in the amount column of reserve and surplus. The combined amount for each and everything will be shown in the balance sheet, and the detailed description about that amount will be given in the notes. So if anyone, any outsider wants to get the detail, then the note number will be mentioned in the balance sheet, and all those notes will be attached with that balance sheet. So that person can go to the required note by just checking the note number of that particular item and see the bifurcation of the different items in that particular note. Okay, so share capital, then shareholder funds have 3 parts: share capital, reserve and surplus, money received against share warrants. So just make a balance sheet of your own. It will be better for you. Side by side, you can write all these items. You will be able to learn easily if you are writing with your hand. So equity and liabilities. This side, this is the first side, equity and liability. In this side, we will be showing all the equity and all the liabilities. Equity here means owner's fund, and liabilities here means borrowed fund, which we have taken from outside. So in owned fund, there are first 2 heads: shareholder fund and share application money pending allotment. In shareholder funds, there are 3 subheads. Shareholder funds, there are 3 subheads. Which 3 subheads? Share capital, reserve and surplus, and money received against share warrants. So first we are doing share capital. In share capital, there are 2 subparts: equity share capital and preference share capital. What is the share capital? You all know that in company the capital is divided in small units. Capital of the company is divided in small units, and each unit is known as a share. And the capital which we raise by issuing these shares is known as share capital. So this capital can be of 2 types: equity share capital and preference share capital. Further, the share capital is divided in many heads or subheads, but now you will not be able to understand the bifurcation of the share capital. So after completing book 2, we will be doing this topic in detail. So in book 2 also this topic is there. Again, there you have to prepare the balance sheet with share capital only. So this bifurcation of the share capital we will be doing in book 2. So need not to go in detail here. Okay. So now the next part, which is reserve and capital, reserve and surplus. So this is the share capital, shareholder funds. It includes share capital, reserves and surplus, and money received against share warrants. 3 parts are there: share capital, reserve and surplus, and money received against share warrant. These are the subheads of shareholder fund. Then shareholder funds includes 3 items I told you earlier. So need not to go in the detail of the share capital. Share capital means amount received by the company against share issued for subscription. And also share issued for consideration other than cash. So this topic we will be doing in book 2, chapter 1. So here we are not considering this topic. You have to just remember one thing. Share capital has two parts. You can do one thing in your notebooks, that prepare headwise bifurcation of all the items, so it will be easy for you to learn. Share capital has two parts: equity share capital and preference share capital. So now I am going to the next head, which is reserve and surplus. So reserve already you have studied in 11th class. Reserve you have already studied in 11th class. Reserve is the amount in which the profits are kept aside to strengthen the financial position of the business. We have already studied this thing in 11th class. And what about surplus? Why we are saying that reserve and surplus? So reserve is, I think, very much clear to you. Then surplus. Surplus means balance in statement of profit and loss, means accumulated profits. Like we are having a profit of rupees 1 lakh. So out of this profit, a part of profit is transferred to reserve. Suppose 80,000 is transferred to different type of reserve. So the balance is 20,000. That balance will be known as surplus. Means the profit which is not distributed. Balance of profit remaining after the appropriations towards reserve and dividend. Okay. So that amount will be known as surplus. Means the amount of profit which we have not appropriated. We have not transferred to reserve or we have not distributed as dividend to the shareholders will be known as surplus. So reserve and surplus is having different subheads, different examples. So this is the note of the reserve and surplus actually. So what items you have to keep in reserve and surplus, and how the question will come. Suppose in question it is given that securities premium reserve. So how you will be solving it? In this chapter, need not to go in detailed theory. You have to just learn, you have to just memorize the head and subhead. Suppose the item is given in the question, securities premium reserve. So you have to write the head and subhead. So subhead of this item is reserve and surplus. That is the subhead. It is the example of reserve and surplus. And the major head is shareholder fund. So in this manner, you have to write each and every example. Basically, in this chapter, you have to learn the head and subhead. This will be the format of the question and answer. So in the same sequence, one more thing, it can be also there that you have to make the note for the reserve and surplus. So all these 8 points are the example of reserve and surplus, and you have to write in sequence. Like capital reserve, capital redemption reserve, you have to just learn them with their names, because in detail explanation you may be able to understand it in better way in book 2 when we will be doing book 2. So here you have to just learn their names, or I can tell you one easy manner in which you will be able to learn the names. If anything at the end which is reserve will be the part of reserve and surplus. Any item like taxation reserve, subsidy reserve, some other examples I am giving you, workmen compensation reserve, general reserve. So anything which is ending with the reserve will be the part of reserve and surplus. So capital reserve, capital redemption reserve, CRR, the short form is, then securities premium reserve, SPR, short form, debenture redemption reserve, to redeem the debentures. This reserve is created. It is known as DRR. Then revaluation reserve. After some time, the company may revalue its assets. What is the market value of the assets, and the reserve created out of that profits will be known as revaluation reserve. Clear options, outstanding account. Other reserves. In other reserves, all those reserves will come which are not mentioned here, like general reserve, workmen compensation reserve, investment fluctuation reserve, taxation reserve, subsidy reserve, and in last we have to write surplus. It means the profit left in the statement of profit and loss account after transferring amount to all these reserves. Students, as you all know that every company wants to strengthen its financial position. So whole of the profits are never distributed in the form of dividends. So always it is the practice of the company to appropriate some profits, to save some profits in the form of different reserves. So these are the different reserves. So first the profits are transferred to reserve, then dividends are distributed to the shareholders, and whatever amount is left, that is known as surplus. For example, a company is having 1 lakh profits at the end of the year, and out of this 1 lakh, company has paid 10,000 tax. So first of all, the taxes will be paid. So now the left out profit is 90,000. Out of this 90,000, the company may reserve, suppose, 30,000. So company has transferred 30,000 rupees to different reserves. Now the left out profit is 60,000. Now out of this 60,000, some part of the profit may be distributed among the shareholders in form of their returns, in form of dividend. So out of this 60,000, suppose 40,000 is distributed among shareholders. So now what is the left out profit? That is the 20,000. That will be known as the 8th item of this note. That is the surplus. So 20,000 will be kept in the surplus form. So am I clear till here? You can give me answer in chat. Am I clear till here, students? So capital reserve, capital redemption reserve, securities premium reserve. Yes, okay. I'm getting the answers from all of you. You all are getting understood all the points. Okay, students, I'm continuing. So you have to memorize this subhead, reserve and surplus is the subhead, and the major head is shareholder fund, and these are the examples, and try to memorize all these items in the same sequence: capital reserve, capital redemption reserve, securities premium reserve, debenture redemption reserve, revaluation reserve, share option outstanding account, then other reserves and surplus. And you people will not be able to understand what is SPR, what is CRR, what is DRR. So these all things we will be doing in detail in book 2, chapter 1. Okay, students. So here you have to just learn them. So now I am coming to the non-current liabilities. One more thing, share money, share warrant, which is the third example of the shareholder fund. Just write down one line about that. Write down one line about the money received against share warrants. Money received against share warrants. Write down. Share warrants give the holder right to acquire equity shares. Share warrants give the holder right to acquire equity shares at a specified date and at a specified rate. At a specified date and at a specified rate. These are financial instruments. These are financial instruments which will be converted into equity shares at a later date, at a predetermined price. At a later date, at a predetermined price. So remember that share warrant can come in one marker question. Define share warrant. So you have to learn this definition, but it will never come numerically. In numericals, this will never be used. As you have already seen in chapter 3, we were studying only two parts of the shareholder, that were share capital and reserve and surplus. So money received against share warrant, you have to just learn it for theoretical question. So these are the financial instruments which are issued to the holder at a pre-decided price, and which can be later on converted into shares. Means in present they are not the shares, they are just the instruments, but after a specified period, say for 6 months or after 10 months, they can be converted into shares at a predetermined price. So it means when the holders are purchasing share warrants, they are not exactly shares, but on a predetermined date at a predetermined price, they can be converted into shares. So now this is all about the head of the shareholder fund. We have discussed here three things. First was the share capital, two parts: equity share capital, preference share capital. Then we discussed about the second subhead, that is the reserve and surplus. Then we discussed the main examples of reserve and surplus. Then finally the money received against share warrant. Money received against share warrant is a non-evaluative topic from numerical point of view. So mark it, it will never come in numerical form. Okay. So now I am going to the next head which I have shown you. In the balance sheet itself, that is the share application money pending on allotment. Share, it is the second head of the balance sheet, major head. Share application money pending allotment. My dear students, it is also a non-evaluative topic. So cross it in your notebook. It is also a non-evaluative topic. It will never come in your numerical questions. Then why we are studying it here? It is just because that it is a part of the balance sheet. And we are studying here the schedule of balance sheet given by Indian Companies Act 2013. So we cannot skip any part of it. So all the parts are arranged in the sequence given by Act. So here we have to study the complete balance sheet, but I'll keep on telling you that this is a non-evaluative part. Non-evaluative part means it will not be discussed in your examination. So you have to just put a cross on that part. Okay, so now I am coming on the third part, third major head of the balance sheet, which is the non-current liabilities. Non-current liabilities means the liabilities which the organization or the business needs to pay after a certain time period, and that time period is usually more than 1 year. And how the Company Act defines non-current liability? That non-current liabilities are those liabilities which are not current. So the liabilities which are not current, all are non-current. And what are the current liabilities? Which are need to be paid within 1 year. So any liability which will be paid after a period of 1 year is a non-current liability. So again the Schedule 3 of the Companies Act 2013, in non-current liabilities, again the 4 subheads are there. Again you have to prepare a note, write down long-term borrowing, then I'll be telling you the different examples of all these heads. So write long-term borrowing and leave some place under long-term borrowing to write its examples. Then write the other heads and leave some space under it, so that the whole of the examples you will be getting at the one place only. So long-term borrowings, this is the subhead, long-term borrowing. Under which major head? Non-current liability. Non-current liability is a third major head, and under this the first subhead is long-term borrowing. And cross second part of this subhead, deferred tax liability. It is a non-evaluative topic. You will be studying this topic in higher classes. So cross this here. So for you people, only 3 parts are there: long-term borrowing, other long-term liabilities, and long-term provisions. 3 parts you need to study. But whenever all the subheads are asked in the question, suppose in exam this question is come, he write the subheads of non-current liabilities, then you have to write all the 4 subheads. But in numericals, deferred tax liabilities will not be considered. Okay, so I'm starting with the first subhead, that is long-term borrowing. In long-term borrowing means amount taken as a loan by the company, maybe by issue of debentures, loan from banks or from private money lenders, public deposits, or by any other nature. So these borrowings will be classified as long-term borrowings when the loan is repayable by the company after a period of 12 months. Okay, so these are the examples. Under long-term borrowing, you need not to write any theory, just note down the examples. So what are the examples of long-term borrowings? Debentures, you can write down. Debentures, bonds, term loans, loans from banks and other parties, public deposits, others loans and advances, nature to be specified. It means any other loan with which a time period of more than 12 months is given, that will be considered under long-term borrowing. In Companies Act, every major head is divided in some subheads, but at the end of every major head, one more column is given, that is the others. Others means if any other thing is there which is not covered by the above given items, that will be coming in other. So every time in every major head, the last column will be the others. So debentures, you know all these things very well, because in business studies, sources of business finance, you all have studied all these instruments theoretically. Debentures, bonds. Let me clear you the difference between debenture and bonds. Debentures you all know very well, I think. In debentures, you have studied that always a rate of interest is associated, like 10% debentures, 9% debentures, and that rate signifies the interest to be paid on those debentures. But in bonds, no rate of interest is given along with the bond. So in debentures, rate of interest is given, and in bonds, no rate of interest is given. Then term loans, like loan taken from bank for 10 years, loan taken from any financial institution for 8 years. So all these will be known as term loans, means the loans which we have taken for a term period. Then public deposits you have already studied in 11th class. Then any other loans and advances. So how the question will come? Suppose in question it is mentioned bonds, and what they have asked, head and subhead. So your answer will be bonds, head, major head. Head here means major head is the non-current liability, and subhead is long-term borrowings. So what we are doing here? We are doing here non-current liability, that is the major head, and long-term borrowing, it is the subhead of non-current liability. And debenture, bond, term loan, public deposits, other loans are the examples of long-term borrowing. So you have to, while solving the answers, you have to prepare it in a tabular form. In one column, you will be writing the given item, suppose bonds. In second column, you will be writing the major head. And in third column, you will be writing the subhead. Suppose the item bonds are given. So in item, you will be writing bonds. And in major head, you will be writing non-current liability. And in subhead, you will be writing long-term borrowings. Okay, students, now I am going with the next head, that was the deferred tax liability. And I told you earlier that deferred tax liability will not be considered here, as these are not the evaluative part, non-evaluative part of your question. Next, third, C part. C part is the other current liabilities, other non-current liabilities, other long-term liabilities. C part is the other long-term liabilities. It is skipped here. So you can write other non-current liabilities. Third part, third subhead, other long-term liabilities, means those liabilities which are not the part of the long-term borrowings are shown as other long-term liabilities. In this trade payables here means we have studied that trade payable means trade creditors and BP. Normally trade creditors and BP are the example of current liabilities. But if time period is mentioned with them, suppose trade payables payable after 3 years. So it means they will be paid after 3 years. So now it is not the part of the current liability. Now it has become the non-current liability, and the subhead will be other long-term liabilities. Write down third subhead. Deferred tax liability is not the part of course. Third subhead is the other long-term liability. And the example, first example is trade payables. You need not to write in theory, just write the example. Trade, other non-current liability. First example is trade payable. Which trade payables? Which are to be paid after a period of 1 year or the operating cycle of the business. Write down some more example. The more example, write down premium payable on redemption of debentures. Premium payable on redemption of debentures. Redemption means repaying the debentures. Debenture is a loan. It's a type of loan which we have taken from the debenture holders. So after on its expiry or on its maturity period, we have to repay it. Premium means we have to pay more, something extra. That is the premium. Suppose we have issued the debentures for 10,000 and when we will be repaying it, we will be repaying 12,000. It means 20% premium. So that premium is the part of other long-term liability. Premium payable on redemption of debentures. You need not to go in detail, students, here, because this item will be given and you have to find out just the head and subheads. Then one more example. Premium payable on redemption of preference shares. Premium payable on redemption of preference shares. So here in other long-term liabilities, I am repeating, in other long-term liabilities, I told you 3 examples. You have to learn those examples. Which 3? Trade payables having a maturity period after 1 year. Then second is premium payable on रिडम्पशन ऑफ डिबेंचर्स, इसको आप POR भी बोल सकते हैं, POR, premium on redemption of debentures. Then premium payable on redemption of preference shares. Redemption of preference shares means when we will be paying back the amount of preference shares, repaying the preference shares. As we all know that preference shares can be redeemed during the lifetime of the company, but equity share capital is paid only at the winding up of the company or the liquidation of the company. Okay. Now the last head, which is the long-term provision. Long-term provision. So long-term provision, we all know that it is the amount set aside out of a profit to meet a certain liability whose amount cannot be determined. This is the definition of provision which we have earlier studied in 11th class. So provision is amount which is set aside from profit and loss account to meet a future liability. The liability is certain, but the amount is uncertain. So what are those? What are the example of those long-term provisions? Write down the example. I am telling you only the example, so you can prepare your own list. Write down the first example. That is the provision made for retirement benefits. Provision made for retirement benefits. Like every company is maintaining Employees Provident Fund. EPF, Employees Provident Fund. The amount kept in that fund will be repaid to the employee only when he will be retiring from the company. So that amount is the liability for the firm, but that liability will be paid only at the retirement of the company. So it's a long-term provision. We have prepared ourselves by making a provision for this. So it's a long-term provision. So write down the example. Provision for retirement benefits. Provision for retirement benefit. Second example, provision for warranty. Provision for warranty. If the company is giving warranty on any product and any customer is claiming the warranty, then company will be in requirement of funds. So for that, by following principle of prudence, we have prepared ourselves by making the provisions for this warranty too. So provisions for warranty. Then third example, write down provision for gratuity. Gratuity will be paid only at the retirement of the company. So it is also a long-term provision. If any employee takes retirement from the company, then this amount will be paid along with the amount of the provident fund. So this is also a long-term provision. Provision for earned leave. Provision for encashment of earned leave. Rather, you should write provision for encashment of earned leave. So now I'll be telling to you the concept of earned leave. Now, like in some companies, some paid leaves are given to the employees, and if they are not getting those leaves, if they are not taking those leaves, then their leaves will be accumulated, and at the time of their retirement or in between, they can encash their leaves. Encash their leaves. It means they can get cash instead of taking their leaves. So this concept is known as encashment of earned leave. So their leave will be adding up. Every year, their left leaves, which they have not taken, will be added up in their account, and at a specified time period. It is the policy of different companies. Some companies are encashing it only at the time of retirement. Some companies may encash it in between. So every company has to make a provision for this, and this provision is known as provision for earned leave encashment. Provision for earned leave encashment. So here I talked about only the non-current liability and shareholder fund today. I am repeating. We will be discussing only two heads so that there is no confusion in your mind. I'll be not very fast in this chapter because this chapter is very important. As well as one more thing, this chapter will be very much required while doing chapter 4 and chapter 5 of this book. So until or unless you are memorizing all these examples, it will be very difficult for you people to do chapter 4 ratio analysis and chapter 5 cash flow statement. So because I am going very slow in this chapter, I'll be discussing only 2 major heads in each day. So on daily basis, you have to learn the examples, heads and subheads of all the items which I have discussed here. Okay, so that it will be easy for you. Otherwise, when the balance sheet will be completed, then it will become very difficult because hundreds of items will be there, which you have to revise. So after revising it, just try to by writing it that whether you have revised it properly or not. So again I am repeating, today we have done three major head. First major head is shareholder fund. Under that, share capital and reserve and surplus, and money received against share warrant. In share capital, I told you only two things: equity share capital and preference share capital. Rest about the share capital we will be doing in part 2. Then in reserve and surplus, there are different type of reserves. You have to learn all these reserves in sequence: capital reserve, capital redemption reserve, securities premium reserve, debenture redemption reserve, revaluation reserve, share option outstanding account, any other reserve surplus. Then money received against share warrant, I told you that it is a non-evaluative topic. In numericals, it will never come. Then I told you share application money pending on allotment, second major head, but it is also a non-evaluative topic. It will also not come in exam. So non-current liabilities, there are 4 subheads: long-term borrowing, deferred tax liabilities, other long-term liabilities, and long-term provisions. Out of these 4, second subhead, deferred tax liability, is a non-evaluative topic. Then long-term borrowing, debenture, bond, term loan, public deposits, and other loans and advances. Then other non-current liability, trade payable. Then 2 more examples: premium payable on redemption of debentures, borrowings, premium payable on redemption of preference shares. Then long-term provisions, I give you 4 examples: provision for retirement benefits, provision for earned leave encashment, provision for warranty, and provision for gratuity. Only these 4 examples you need. So students, today's class is concluded over here.